Listen, Destiny 2 is one of the hardest and most confusing games as a beginning or returning player to understand. The user interface, lack of tutorial, and guidance can lead to frustration, boredom, and a lot of questions. Where do I go? What do I do? What should I focus on? And most importantly, how do I get powerful quickly? If that's you, you've come to the right video. Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from deltiasgaming.com. And let's jump in with the number one tip to get you started. But before we do, if you get something out of this video, please smash that thumbs up button. And also check the links in the description below if you wish to skip ahead to a certain section or the written guide for this video for a future reference. Tip number one, acquiring power and power caps. First thing you need to know before setting out on your super overpowered journey is how to acquire more powerful gear and what does power level mean. Your power level is essentially your gear score. Gear score determines some of the content you can access along with how much damage you deal and how much damage you take. The higher the level, the better your character will be. Each season, there are different caps on power. The maximum power level will change by roughly 10 per season and a large amount per expansion. Destiny 2 will see a new season in December of 2022 and a new expansion in February of 2023. But for the sake of this video, I'll be referencing Season 18 power level. The caps are soft, hard, and pinnacle. Soft cap currently is power level 1520, meaning you can complete nearly any task, weekly milestone, or activity and obtain gear even at blue quality to reach this level quickly. Continue to equip new gear pieces even if they're blue to rank up your power level fast. After that, the hard cap is 1570, which requires you to complete specific content to obtain what are called powerful drops, which will have a random chance to be any of your weapon or armor slots, thus increasing your power to that specific slot. You don't necessarily have to have this equipped on that specific slot. You need to have it at least in your inventory. So if you just get access to a new helm piece, but you like the previous one that you have, make sure just to keep it on your individual character before you get another pinnacle drop. So the computer will register what the most powerful one you have available is and give you something a little bit better. Next up, we have 1580, which is the current pinnacle cap. In order to get this, you're going to need to complete specific activities called pinnacles to max out your gear at 1580. What usually happens while you're on this path to 1580 is you'll have one or more gear pieces lagging behind, which keeps you at a lower light level until the mother RNG blesses you with that missing helm, boots, or power weapon. At 1580, gear doesn't get any higher. You've reached the cap. You can still earn pinnacle drops even at 1580. Pinnacle activities are still worth doing at the cap in order to bring up different weapons or gear sets, specifically exotic armor and weapons. However, you have another form of progression, and that's the artifact. This artifact can increase power, pushing your character beyond 1580 by earning experience points through bounties and seasonal challenges. This can go on indefinitely. This artifact will also reset seasonally, requiring you to re-level every season. Don't worry, if you missed a season, it's not detrimental. Think of an artifact as not only important for your overall power level, but quintessential for mods and harder content. As you earn experience points and gain more available points, you'll get access to weapon mods that break shields for champions, Overload, Barrier, and Unstoppable. Without these mods equipped via your arms, champions will be very difficult or nearly impossible to kill at high-level content. This picture shows an Overload champion. The icon represents its type of shield along with the name, and my weapon is Overload shield breaking via the symbol on it. Once I break the shield, it stuns the champion, and it'll be vulnerable for a short period of time without generating shields or refilling the health. This system would be enough for another lengthy 20-minute video, which if you want, leave me a comment below. But know this, artifact is not only important for your power level, but also important at endgame to take down the hardest and most annoying champions in the game. The end goal for PvE is to reach at least 1595, which currently is the minimum threshold for what's called Grand Masters, the hardest and most lucrative content for 3-player PvE in the game. Trials of Osiris is a weekend PvP event and also factors in your power level, whereas Crucible matches do not. So even PvPers want to reach high power level. Power leveling your gear goes quickly nowadays in Destiny 2. Look, I returned to the game and reached 1570 within a week, and 1595 within a month of playing off and on for a few hours a week. No, I wasn't min-max, but I could hang in there and do some of the hardest content in the game, and it was pretty easy to do. Moving on to another important tip that will help you get the right stats in your armor, and that's your ghost. Tip number 2, focus your ghost. Before launching in any activity, make sure to equip your ghost with 2 of the following mods. Blinding Light, which gives you increased XP gains by 12%. This will boost your XP gains, meaning you level your artifact and season rank quickly, thus increasing your power faster. If your ghost doesn't have maximum energy, use materials to upgrade it to Masterwork and or select the lower quality mod that still increases XP gains. The next mod is going to be based on what class you play and what stat are priority on your armor. We're using a resilience mod in this example, and this mod will increase specific stats on armor drops. The stats you want is based on your class or play style. The stat I highly recommend currently early on, regardless of your class, is resilience, due to the massive amount of damage reduction. Reaching 100 resilience will result in 40% damage reduction, making your game time much easier. Going beyond 100 resilience doesn't serve any benefits, so you're trying to min-max getting right at 100, not anymore. As you progress, you can change this out per class or playstyle. In general, Titans want resilience, Warlocks want recovery, and Hunters want mobility. With this setup, your Ghost will expedite your season rank, which will increase your artifact and passively increase your power, along with getting the correct stats for your mods for your builds when new items are received and or dropped. Moving on to discuss more about mods before we start crushing content. Number 3, mods. Now your Ghost is set up for your class gear needs. You should have a basic understanding of power caps. Before we venture out, we want to make sure 2 vendors in the towers are checked daily for relevant mods, Banshee and Ada. This is really the end game for Destiny 2 currently, an RNG dependent system that rotates daily, with chance of 4 random mods you can purchase to add to your collection permanently. Banshee handles weapons and Ada handles armor. Ada gives the most important mods that go in the 4 slot in each piece of your armor. Typically, these combat mods in that 4 slot are what radically increases your build's power and potential. If you purchase an impact mod but can't use it, make sure your armor is the right subtype, Arc, Solar, or Void. You can change this with some currency, though it can be expensive. Then you could increase your armor's power with a little bit more currency and bang, slot the mods to increase your build's performance drastically. Another thing to keep in mind with the top players' builds is this. Most of them are entirely mod dependent. Crazy fast grenade refreshes, insane survivability, near limitless ammo. It's mod driven, and checking this daily, even if you're on a break from the game, will pay dividends when you return. Moving on to free, super important armor set with the addition of Arc 3.0. Tip number 4, free 1540 gear set. One of the most important and easy ways to increase your power is a free, full set of armor via Gift of the Thunder Gods, which is a limited time offer for Arc 3.0 revamp found in the helm. You want to make sure and you get this right away. This has been around for a few months now and will probably go away in the future, but simply travel to the helm and access the chest. You'll get 2 exotics, Thunder Ward, which is a great add clear weapon, and another class exotic along with all armor pieces for your class. This armor comes at 1540 power level along with 8 energy available, and I maintain this gear set and upgraded out through my entire playthrough up until 1570 power level. Now we are set up, ready to go. What activities do we do and why? I'm glad you asked. Tip number 5, and that's activities. You'll have a massive variety of options to obtain powerful and pinnacle drops regardless if you're a free-to-player or you have all the expansions. Both these drops will reset weekly on Tuesdays and should be a priority of your playtime while increasing your power level. Generally, the more expansions or content you own, the more options you have for powerful and pinnacle drops, because each of these locations have a series of activities. When you open up your destinations tab, you'll see an icon that is a yellowish circle. This means you have a remaining powerful or pinnacle drop to complete. Once you drill down in each of these sections, you'll have the same icon on the activity and what you need to do in order to complete it. Also make sure to look at the required or recommended power level, along with recommended party size so you don't end up in a 3 to 6 player content without any friends. This game has dramatically expanded on the list of activities you can do, so essentially now in Destiny 2, if you have the time, you can ramp up your power very quickly. Here's a list of some various powerful gear drops in Destiny 2 currently. And here's a list of the pinnacle drops currently. Keep in mind some of these changes and rotate various seasons. So which activities are best to do? I always prioritize doing the solo free-to-play activities first. This includes Vanguard, 3-player instance-based PvE, Crucible, which is PvP, and Gambit, which is a mix of PvE and PvP. These don't require any friends or party members and rely on a matchmaking system and don't require wins per se, just participation. Even if you're terrible at PvP, it's worth doing just to get that pinnacle drop. Per season, there are specific raids and dungeons that have pinnacle drops at every chest. As of the making of this video, currently it's King's Fall raid and Duality, but it's subject to change. Whatever these are, make it a priority. Now moving on to legacy items and how to get past exotics, because this is an issue in the game. Tip number 6, legacy exotics. The term legacy basically means retired exotics that you can no longer collect via in-game activities. Our exotics are one of the most powerful and unique one-piece items in the game. You can use one exotic weapon and one exotic armor piece at a time. Prioritizing the right combination with mods is how you create a very strong build. There are currently a couple methods for obtaining these exotics. One is in the tower near your vault at the exotic archive. This method costs a hefty amount of glimmer materials, but you can get the past exotic weapons and not miss out. Another method is random via Xur. The Xur vendor appears on the weekends throughout somewhere in Destiny 2 universe. Once per week, you can purchase an exotic engram from Xur, which will give you a never-before-claimed exotic, which could include missing armor exotics. So then, how do you get more exotics that you're missing beyond this? I'm glad you asked. It's soloing lost sectors. Tip number 7, soloing lost sectors for exotics. Lost sectors are found in the open world or various planets and are small caves or dungeons which contains mobs and a chest upon completion. There is one lost sector per day that can be scaled in difficulty to legendary. Completing the legendary daily lost sector solo has a chance to drop exotic armor. In order to do this, you'll need to complete the lost sector on normal first, obtain power level 1570 or higher, know which lost sector is active for the day. Thankfully, there's a helpful website that shows which lost sector is active, and here is the website. In this picture, you'll notice the date, place, and reward. The armor slot rotates daily. You'll have to prioritize getting specific exotics on that day. Currently, all my characters lack important helm exotics, so when that arrives, I'll spend most of my game time working on those lost sectors. Here's a picture of the current active lost sector. It will only appear like this if you've completed it previously, but this is how you know it's active. Now, completing these will take some coordination on your build because you need to break specific champion shield. The symbols give it away. I mentioned how to do this in tip number 1 if you skipped ahead. Also, you need to equip some type of weapon to break shields or a specific subclass to take advantage of the burn. I have solo builds on my website per class. If you need a solid loadout to handle these type of encounters, check there. But just know this is the endgame farm to fill in your exotic collection and get the correct stats on the items. Now you know exotic farming method and how to get past exotics. What about high stat armor? Tip number 8, high stat armor. Assuming you got the basic set of armor from Gift of the Thunder Gods vendor, it'll only get you so far. Your goal is to get higher stat armor with what are called spiky stats. I'll try to summarize what would be a 20-minute video briefly. Essentially, your stats are lumped into 2 categories. The first 3 numbers and the second 3 numbers giving you the total. Your goal is to get a high total, but also the correct stats based on your class needs. This image has a great total stat, but look at the distribution. It's even. It's not spiky. So my Titan, I don't need any mobility, yet I have 16. It's deceptive because you think it's great due to the totals, but not so much. Take a look at this image. It has much less total power, but it's spiky. Huge resilience and strength, perfect for a PvP Titan melee build. And now let's look at the juggernaut of role for armor, my Rivery Drawn Plate. I have both an armor mod to increase its stats and its masterwork, boosting the overall stats to 105, which sounds insane, but possible. Now imagine using 5 pieces like this of armor. Just how powerful would your build be? So great, there's actually an easy way to get some decent high stats armor without doing the hardest dungeons or raids, and that's through various activities. Currently, it's Crown of Sorrows, Nightmare Contaminants, seasonal activities like Catch Crash, Psyops, or other seasonal activity playlists. In this example I'm going to show you, I did a lot of Season 18 activities to earn currency and also boost my artifacts rank. Then I went to the star chart vendor at the home. I saved Umbral Engram drops and not opening them, but keeping them in my inventory. With an Umbral Engram, seasonal currency, some legendary shards, I was able to get random Catch Crash armor. Now this armor is like anything, as you can imagine, random. So sometimes it's trash, sometimes it's treasure, but it can produce super high stat armor with spiky stats. It's a great way to kill a couple birds with one stone. Obtain a powerful drops, power level, earn some currency, and redeem them later for a chance at a God Roll armor set. Now I've mentioned basically everything but weapons, and I'll do my best to summarize yet another complex issue. That's crafting weapons. Tip number 9, crafting weapons. The Witch Queen expansion brought about weapon crafting, an entirely new system. You must own the Witch Queen expansion, so this may not be applicable to everyone, but it's worth explaining. The TLDR on this system is this: any purple weapon you find has a chance at being a quote-unquote red bar. If you highlight the weapon, it'll say if the pattern can or cannot be extracted. The weapons that can be extracted means after obtaining a certain amount of repeats, you can craft the weapon. Once you craft the weapon, you can equip it and start killing things to level it. This allows you to recraft the weapon with God Roll traits and perks. The trick to doing this is, yes, RNG, but if you do the current raid once a week, you're guaranteed a red border. Currently in Season 18, it's Kingsfall. In Season 19, it'll be Deepstone Crypt. I got incredibly lucky on Return to Destiny 2, and shortly after got all the red borders needed for a Taipan. Consider this the God Mode PvE weapon for boss fights. Arrowhead Break, Advanced Battery, Triple Tap Enhanced Trait, Firing Line Enhanced Trait. Invested Stinger, you'll be doing well over 90k criticals and raids fully buffed. This weapon meta isn't going away anytime soon and truly makes PvE much easier, especially if you have a group of players running it for specific boss fights. You will melt. Red bars and crafting weapons apply to all sorts of content like solo, PvP, and so forth. And consider this system one of the main draws for buying the Witch Queen. Okay, that about wraps things up. So when do we start raiding? And what's the final tip? Tip number 10, when can I raid? Well, that depends on the type of raid you're doing, which are 6 players and instant space, and do not currently have a matchmaking system. The older raids can be done at power level of 1350, 1520, and the latest at 1550 power level. I started raiding at 1550 and had a lot of trouble with mechanics, and also I was taking a ton of damage. Around 1570 is where I felt I wasn't dying constantly and I could contribute to my team in Kingsfall. Everyone's going to be different here, but that's what I'd recommend for the latest raid, is right around 1570 power level. You also need a good loadout, so if you don't have one, check my website for a reference. 3 weapons I highly recommend for anyone to work towards acquiring. 1, the Arbalist. Probably my favorite overall weapon in the game. Range, hard hitting, it takes down barrier champions passively. It doesn't do as much damage as the Taipan, but it has great range for any content. Number 2, the Taipan, which we already talked about, specifically to PvE, but incredible if you can get the red bars and craft a God Roll. Number 3, the Thunderlord, which could be obtained by the Gift of the Thunder Gods for free. Consider this a meta ad clear weapon, weak on boss fights, but great for everything else. And then your favorite pulse rifle, like the BXR, or a trash clear weapon like the Funnel Web, are out of bounds, and you got yourself a build. You'll need to carry on something for each situation, shield and damage type. So something for arc, solar, and void shields. Something for range like a pulse, scout, or sniper. Something for ad clear like rocket launchers, machine guns, or grenade launcher. And something for boss fights like the Taipan or the Gallowhorn. And you should be needing to swap in and out weapons and even mods throughout encounters, boss fights, and even PvP maps. And there you have it. Probably about 100 tips for returning players, but 10 feels so much better than the title. If you got anything out of this video, please smash that thumbs up. I've worked a lot on this and I hope it helps you. Also, come watch me live on twitch.tv/DeltiaGaming, and consider checking out my website and written post for reference if this changes in the future. And I swear I'm about done. Leave me a comment if you like these Destiny 2 guides and you want me to expand and create some more. Thanks for watching.
Clutched it! Oh, nothing to oblivion! That was a fail! I should have done it at the beginning! You baited me!